Hello everyone, how are you? I hope you all are hale and hearty. Well, I'm Satinder Kaur and today I'll be taking up lesson 2 of geography for class 9. And the name of the lesson is Physical Features of India. India is a vast country with varied landforms. In fact, it has all the major landforms of the earth like the mountains, plains, deserts, plateaus, and islands. Some of its landform features are ancient, while some others are most recently formed. In this lesson, we shall talk about these physical features of India in detail. So let's start. The physical features of India can be grouped under the 6 physiographic divisions, and these are: first, the Himalayan mountains; second, the northern plains; third, the peninsular plateau; fourth, the Indian desert; fifth, the coastal plains; and sixth, the islands. Let's start with the Himalayan mountains. The Himalayas are geologically young and structurally fold mountains. They stretch over northern borders of India. These mountain ranges run in a west-east direction from the Indus to the Brahmaputra rivers and represent the loftiest and one of the most rugged mountain barriers of the world. They form an arc which covers a distance of about 2400 km. Their width varies from 400 km in Kashmir to 150 km in Arunachal Pradesh. The altitudinal variations, that is, difference in height, are greater in eastern half than those in western half. A number of valleys lie between these ranges. The northernmost range is known as the Great or Inner Himalayas or the Himadri. It is the most continuous range consisting of the loftiest peaks with an average height of 6,000 meters. Some important passes in this range are Karakoram Pass, Shipkila Pass, Nathula Pass, and Bomdila Pass. It contains all the prominent Himalayan peaks. The Himalayan mountains are divided into 3 parts. They are Great or Inner Himalayas, also known as Himadri, Himachal or Lesser Himalayas, and then we have Shivaliks or Outer Himalayas. The highest peak of the Himalayas is Mount Everest, which lies in Nepal and has a height of 8,848 meters. The second highest peak is Kanchenjunga, which lies in India and has a height of 8,598 meters. Some other important peaks like Nanga Parbat, Nanda Devi, Kamet, Namcha Barwa also lie in India. Children, you have to find out the names of the states where these peaks are located, and I'm sure you will be able to do that. The folds of Great Himalayas are asymmetrical in nature. The core of this part of Himalayas is composed of granite. It is perennially snowbound and a number of glaciers descend from this range. Children, some of the glaciers in this range are Gangotri, Chaturangi, Bhagirathi, Satopant, Milam, and Pindari. Now we shall talk about Himachal. The range lying to the south of the Himadri forms the most rugged mountain system and is known as Himachal or Lesser Himalaya. The ranges are mainly composed of highly compressed and altered rocks. The altitude varies between 3,700 and 4,500 meters and the average width is of 50 kilometers. While the Pir Panjal range forms the longest and the most important range, the Dhauladhar and the Mahabharat ranges are also prominent ones. This range consists of the famous valley of Kashmir, the Kangra and Kulu valley in Himachal Pradesh. This region is well known for its hill stations like Mussoorie, Nainital and Ranikhet. Now you have to find out the name of states where they are located. The outermost range of the Himalayas is called Shivaliks. They extend over a width of 10 to 50 kilometers and have an altitude varying between 900 and 1100 meters. These ranges are composed of unconsolidated sediments brought down by rivers from the main Himalayan ranges located farther north. These valleys are covered with thick gravel and alluvium. The longitudinal valley lying between Lesser Himalayas Shivaliks are known as dunes. Dehradun, Kotli Dun and Patli Dun are some of the well-known dunes. Besides the longitudinal divisions, the Himalayas have been divided on the basis of regions from west to east. These divisions have been made by river valleys. For example, the part of Himalayas lying between Indus and Satluj has been traditionally known as Punjab Himalaya, but it is also known regionally as Kashmir and Himachal Himalaya from west to east respectively. The part of the Himalayas lying between Satluj and Kali rivers is known as Kumaon Himalayas. The Kali and Tista rivers demarcate the Nepal Himalayas, and the part lying between Tista and Dihang rivers is known as Assam Himalayas. The Brahmaputra marks the easternmost boundary of the Himalayas. Beyond the Dihang Gorge, the Himalayas bend sharply to the south and spread along the eastern boundary of India. They are also known as the Purvachal or the Eastern Hills and Mountains. These hills running through the northeastern states are mostly composed of strong sandstones, which are sedimentary rocks and are covered with dense forests. The Purvanchal comprises the Patkai Hills, the Naga Hills, Manipur Hills and the Mizo Hills. So that was all about the Himalayan mountains. Now let's move ahead and talk about the Northern Plain. The Northern Plain has been formed by three major river systems, namely the Indus, the Ganga and the Brahmaputra, along with their tributaries. This plain is formed of alluvial soil. The deposition of alluvium in a vast basin lying at the foothills of the Himalaya over millions of years formed this fertile plain. It spreads over an area of 7 lakh square kilometers. The plain is about 2400 kilometers long and 240 to 320 kilometers broad. It is a densely populated region with a rich soil, adequate water supply and favorable climate. It is agriculturally a very productive part of India. As the rivers flow from the northern mountains, in the lower course due to gentle slope, their velocity decreases and these rivers deposit alluvium which results in the formation of riverine islands. Children, do you know Majoli in the Brahmaputra river is the largest inhabited riverine island in the world. The rivers in their lower course split into numerous channels due to the deposition of silt. These channels are known as distributaries. The northern plain is broadly divided into three sections. They are Punjab Plains, Ganga Plains and Brahmaputra Plains. The western part of the northern plain is referred to as the Punjab Plains. Formed by the Indus and its tributaries, the larger part of this plain lies in Pakistan. The Indus and its tributaries, the Jhelum, the Chenab, the Ravi, the Byas, and the Satluj, originate in the Himalaya. This section of the plain is dominated by the Doabs. Now, children, the word Doab is made up of two words, do meaning two and ab meaning water. Similarly, Punjab is also made up of two words, Panj meaning five and ab meaning water. The Ganga plain extends between Ghaggar and Teesta rivers. It is spread over the states of North India, Haryana, Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, partly Jharkhand and West Bengal to its east. The Brahmaputra plain is the eastern part of the plains which lies in Assam. The northern plains are generally described as flat land with no variations in its relief. It is not true. These vast plains have diverse relief features. According to the variations in relief features, the northern plains can be divided into four regions, and they are Bhabar, Tarai, Bhangar, and Khadar. The rivers, after descending from the mountains, deposit pebbles in a narrow belt of about 8 to 16 km in width, lying parallel to the slopes of the Shivaliks. It is known as Bhabar. All the streams disappear in this Bhabar belt. South of this belt, the streams and rivers re-emerge and create a wet, swampy and marshy region known as Terai. This was a thickly forested region full of wildlife. The forests have been cleared to create agricultural land and to settle migrants from Pakistan after partition. The largest part of the northern plain is formed of older alluvium. They lie above the floodplains of the rivers and present a terrace-like feature. This part is known as Bhangar. The soil in this region contains calcareous deposits locally known as Kankar. The newer, younger deposits of the floodplains are called Khadar. They are renewed almost every year and so are fertile, thus ideal for intensive agriculture. Now let's talk about the Peninsular Plateau. The Peninsular Plateau is a tableland composed of the old crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rocks. It was formed due to the breaking and drifting of the Gondwana land and thus making it a part of the oldest landmass. The plateau has broad and shallow valleys and rounded hills. The Aravalli Hills lie on the west and northwest margins of the Peninsular Plateau. This plateau consists of two broad divisions, namely the Central Highlands and the Deccan Plateau. The part of the Peninsular Plateau lying to the north of the Narmada River, covering a major area of the Malwa Plateau, is known as the Central Highlands. The Vindhyan Range is bounded by the Central Highlands on the south and the Aravallis on the northwest. In the west, it gradually merges with the sandy and rocky desert of Rajasthan. The Central Highlands slopes from southwest to northeast and is indicated by the flow of Chambal, Sindh, Betwa and Ken rivers. The highlands are wider in the west but narrower in the east. The eastward extensions of this plateau are known as Bundelkhand and Baghelkhand. The Chota Nagpur Plateau lies in the further east of this highland and is drained by the Damodar River. Now let's talk about the Deccan Plateau. It is a triangular landmass that lies to the south of the river Narmada. The Satpura range flanks its broad base in the north, while the Mahadev, the Kamur Hills, and the Mekal range form its eastern extensions. The Deccan Plateau is higher in the west and slopes gently eastwards. An extension of the plateau is also visible in the northeast, locally known as the Meghalaya Karbi Anglong Plateau and North Kachar Hills. It is separated by a fault from the Chota Nagpur Plateau. Three prominent hill ranges from the west to east are the Garo, the Khasi, and the Jaintia Hills. The Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats mark the western and the eastern edges of the Deccan Plateau, respectively. Western Ghats lie parallel to the western coast. They are continuous and can be crossed through passes only. The Western Ghats are higher than the Eastern Ghats. Their average elevation is 900 to 1600 meters as against 600 meters of the Eastern Ghats. The Eastern Ghats stretch from the Mahanadi Valley to the Nilgiris in the south. The Eastern Ghats are discontinuous and irregular and dissected by rivers draining into the Bay of Bengal. The Western Ghats cause orographic rain by facing the rain-bearing moist winds to rise along the western slopes of the Ghats. The Western Ghats are known by different local names. The height of the Western Ghats progressively increases from north to south. Annaimudi is the highest peak in the Western Ghats, while Mahendragiri is the highest peak in the Eastern Ghats. Chevroy Hills and the Javedi Hills are located to the southeast of the Eastern Ghats, while the famous hill stations of Udgamandalam, popularly known as Ooty, and the Kodaikanal lie in the Western Ghats. One of the distinct features of the peninsular plateau is the black soil area known as Deccan Trap. This is of volcanic origin, hence the rocks here are igneous. Actually, these rocks have denuded over time and are responsible for the formation of black soil. The Aravalli Hills lie on the western and northwestern margins of the peninsular plateau. These are highly eroded hills and are found as broken hills. They extend from Gujarat to Delhi in a southwest northeast direction. Now let's move further and talk about the Indian desert known as the Thar. The Indian desert lies towards the western margins of the Aravalli Hills. It is an undulating sandy plain covered with sand dunes. This region receives very low rainfall below 150 millimeters per year. It has arid climate with low vegetation cover. Streams appear during the rainy season. Soon after, they disappear into the sand as they do not have enough water to reach the sea. Luni is the only large river in this region. Bakans means crescent-shaped dunes cover larger areas, but longitudinal dunes become more prominent near the Indo-Pakistan boundary. If you visit Jaisalmer, you may go to see a group of Bakans. Now we shall talk about the coastal plains. The peninsular plateau is flanked by a stretch of narrow coastal strips running along the Arabian Sea on the west and Bay of Bengal on the east. The western coast, sandwiched between the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea, is a narrow plain. It consists of three sections. The northern part of the coast is called the Konkan. The central stretch is called the Kannad Plain, while the southern stretch is referred to as the Malabar coast. The plains along the Bay of Bengal are wide and level. In the northern part, it is referred to as the Northern Sarkar, while the southern part is known as the Coromandel coast. Large rivers such as the Mahanadi, the Godavari, the Krishna, and the Kaveri have formed extensive delta on this coast. Lake Chilika is an important feature along the eastern coast. Do you know, children, the Chilika Lake is the largest saltwater lake in India? It lies in the state of Orissa to the south of the Mahanadi Delta. Children, you have already seen that India has a vast mainland. Besides this, the country has also two groups of islands. They are Lakshadweep and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Lakshadweep Islands group lies close to the Malabar coast of Kerala. This group of islands is composed of small coral islands. Coral polyps are short-lived microscopic organisms which live in colonies. They flourish in shallow, mud-free and warm waters. They secrete calcium carbonate, the coral secretion and their skeletons from coral deposits in the form of reefs. Earlier, these islands were known as Lakadiv, Minicoy and Amindiv. In 1973, these were renamed as Lakshadweep. It covers small area of 32 square kilometer. Kavaratti Island is the administrative headquarters of Lakshadweep. This island group has great diversity of flora and fauna. The Piti Island, which is uninhabited, has a bird sanctuary. Now we'll talk about Andaman and Nicobar Islands. These are the elongated chain of islands located in the Bay of Bengal extending from north to south. They are bigger in size and are more numerous and scattered. The entire group of islands is divided into two broad categories: the Andaman in the north and the Nicobar in the south. It is believed that these islands are an elevated portion of submarine mountains. These island groups are of great strategic importance for the country. There is great diversity of flora and fauna in this group of islands too. These islands lie close to the equator and experience equatorial climate and has thick forest cover. Children, do you know that India's only active volcano is found on Barren Island in Andaman and Nicobar group of islands, which is also the only confirmed active volcano in South Asia. Now it's time to answer a few questions. First, we have some questions with options, and you have to choose the correct option. The first question is, a landmass bounded by sea on three sides is referred to as, and the options are coast, island, peninsula, or plain. And the correct option is yes, peninsula. Next question is, mountain ranges in the eastern part of India forming its boundary with Myanmar are collectively called as, and the options are Himachal, Uttarakhand, Purvachal, or Shivaliks. And the correct option is Purvachal. The next question is, the western coastal strip south of Goa is referred to as, and the options are Coromandel, Konkan, Kannada, or Northern Sarkar. And the correct option is Kannada. Now the last question. The highest peak in the Eastern Ghats is, and the options are Naimudi, Kanchenjunga, Mahendragiri or Khasi? Yes, the correct option is Mahendragiri. Children, now we have some sentences and you have to tell whether these sentences are true or false. And the first one is, Terai is a zone of wet and marshland located in South India. Is it true? No, it is false because Terai is not located in South India. Rather, it is located in the northern plains. The second sentence is, Kanchenjunga is the highest peak of Himalayas in India. So children, is it true? Yes, it is true. The next sentence is, Deccan Plateau lies to the south of the Narmada River. This again is true. And the last sentence is, a landmass surrounded by sea on all sides is called a peninsula. This sentence is false because a landmass surrounded by sea on all sides is referred to as an island and not as a peninsula. Now let's move further and match different parts of the Himalayas with the rivers they lie between. First we have Punjab Himalayas. Where do they lie? They lie between Indus and Satluj rivers. Next we have Nepal Himalayas. These lie between Kali and Tista rivers. Next we have Assam Himalayas, which lie between Tista and Dihang rivers. Then we have Kumaon Himalaya. And where do they lie? They lie between Satluj and Kali rivers. Good. In the end, we have some questions which you have to answer in 1 or 2 words. And the first question is, which range of the Himalayas is the most continuous range? And the answer is, yes, Himadri or Inner Himalayas. The next question is, which is the only river found in desert region of India? And the answer is, yes, Luni. The third question is, which of the following is agriculturally the most productive part of India? And the answer is Northern Plains. Very good. The next question is, what is the land between 2 rivers called? And the answer is Doab. Next question is, which is the highest peak of Western Ghats? And the answer to this question is Anaimuri. So children, with this we come to the end of today's video. I'm sure you liked it and got to know a great deal about the various physical features of India. That's all for now. I'll be back with some more interesting lessons. Till then, stay healthy, stay safe.